Welcome to Oyate Today. Oyate in Lakota means people. Regional Health is a proud sponsor of Oyate Today. We believe in helping communities live well. Hi, welcome to Oyate Today. I am your host, Richie Richards. Oyate Today is produced by Tim and Jackie Gallego. Tim is an enrolled member of the Oglala Sioux tribe. Our guests tonight are Karl Jegeris, Rapid City Police Chief, and Officer Dan Mertz, both of the Rapid City Police Department. Thank you both for being here tonight, gentlemen.
Thank you, Richie.
You're welcome.
Our discussion is going to be about the relationship the Rapid City Police Department has with our homeless population in downtown Rapid City. And so, Chief, if you could talk to us a little bit about the history of the perception of the Rapid City Police Department and their relationship with the homeless population, say, in downtown Rapid City.
Sure. So I think as most in our community are aware, there is a significant homeless population that is oftentimes frequently seen in the downtown area of Rapid City, the bike path area, and in many of our parks. And so, along with the homeless issues, there's many other social issues that are related to that, which oftentimes involve mental health issues and substance abuse, especially alcohol here in Rapid City. So our department gets called upon frequently to engage with the homeless population when there's a conflict that arises. And when I say frequently, I mean multiple times a day, every day, 365 days a year. And so over time, our officers really have become natural 24/7 caretakers of the homeless population. We get to know them on an individual basis. Oftentimes we get to know them on a first name basis. And when you spend that amount of time with somebody who is really vulnerable in the community, you develop a relationship and really you naturally become an advocate for that person. And unfortunately as a community, our primary tool that we have to engage with conflict is the criminal justice system. And really, for a low level, like an alcohol offense or something that's really minor, utilizing the expertise of lawyers, a prosecutor, a public defender, a judge to oversee a response to that conflict is really ineffective from a cost standpoint and really from a humanitarian standpoint. So we're in a point that we've really dialed down our desire to improve lives, and we have launched a quality of life unit that has just gotten started within the last couple of months, and our intention is to transform the way that we do business when it pertains to the chronically intoxicated homeless population here in Rapid City. And our desire is to make positive change for everyone. We believe that we will reduce victimization, because I will tell you the degree of victimization that occurs amongst our homeless population is very disproportionate, and it's sad. There are many, many sad stories, and we need to try something different, and we need to take a new path, and we need to change the way that we intervene in these circumstances for the good of everybody in our community.
Sure. And could you tell us a little bit about the history of the quality of life unit then? I know it's been on the streets for the past month and a half or so, but there was a grant that led up to that. Could you talk to us about the grant, please?
Well, so as a department, we have 130 sworn officers, and we are very busy with day-to-day operations. And we also, as a city, we have limited financial resources to provide the services that the public demands that we provide. And so a little over a year ago, a nationwide opportunity was announced that 5 cities would be selected as a collective healing demonstration site. And this is funded through the International Association of Chiefs of Police as a pass-through from the Department of Justice. And basically, to summarize what the requirements to be considered for this opportunity is you had to define an event that caused division related to race relations in your community, and you had to come up with a unique strategy to address the divide that exists in your community. So for us, when we submitted our proposal. We utilized the Wounded Knee Massacre, which occurred 128 years ago in our area of Rapid City, and that was the premise for the division. And I truly believe, based on my experience of engaging in conflict in our community over the past 23 years as a police officer, that resonates very clearly today, even though it was 128 years ago. So in our creative strategy to address that division is really to focus mostly on the most vulnerable in our community, which our homeless population is 80% or more is Native American, and they are the most vulnerable in our community. They are the most victimized in our community. And to continue utilizing the same tool and tactics of traditional criminal justice response, I think has proven to be ineffective overall in making change for our community. So we're going to, as a demonstration site, this is somewhat of an experiment. The resources that are being poured into this allow us to do things that we normally wouldn't do. So we're creating a detached unit that will proactively work to address some of the really sad social issues that occur every day here in Rapid City, in our downtown area, our bike paths, and beyond.
So we're really talking about healing the historical effects, well, the historical trauma and the effects of historical trauma in the past 128 years in this particular area. And so these our homeless population downtown are really the kind of the far end of the historical trauma and the effects that it has on our population, our Native American population. So when we talk about those particular individuals downtown or in the homeless area, in the Rapid City area, we're talking about trying to heal and bring them up to a place where they're at least functioning and doing things, finding jobs, taking care of themselves, having a place to stay. And so in your 23 years as a police officer here in Rapid City, have you seen any changes from that 23-year period, any kind of where we were 23 years ago versus today? And
I have. I've seen that there has been an improvement in social service providers and collaboration and lack of duplication of services. But the one missing component that we would like to remedy with this unit is we don't have boots on the ground community outreach personnel that will go to the problem. And there's a good reason for that, because there's some safety issues. And so, I see this team as being a resource that will help the most vulnerable navigate the social service systems. And at the end of the day, it will reduce the burden on the criminal justice system, be very cost-saving for everybody in our community, and most importantly, it's a more humanitarian approach to deal with social issues that we're talking about here.
Sure. And maybe Officer Mertz can talk to us a little bit about those interactions with our homeless population. Could you give us a little briefing on that?
Yeah, for sure. Just to expand upon what the Chief was talking about, we really are taking a unique approach. We're really taking an individualized, humanistic approach, and we're going away from utilizing the justice system to fix social issues. So as the Chief stated, we are going to the individuals. We're not waiting for them to come to us, because when you're living in a lifestyle or a moment of crisis, that can be extremely difficult to do. Your mindset is more hour by hour, day by day. So what we're trying to do is go to the individual wherever they're at, in whatever condition they're in, and forming that rapport and that personal level relationship with that individual, so we can figure out exactly what that person needs. We're all in different circumstances. We're all hurting to different degrees and struggling with different things. What might be good for this individual is not so good for this individual. So we really try to take the time and try to meet with those individuals on a personal level and really figure out what that next step is going to be, because like I said, they're all different. So that's one of our biggest goals, is meeting with those people and getting them to the next level. Where do they want to go? Where do they see themselves? What do they dream about? Where do they see their life going? And we try to get them to that next step.
And you bring up a good point about humanizing our downtown population. We call them relatives, but our downtown population. So Chief, Officer, we're going to take a break. When we get back, we'll learn a little bit more about the quality of life unit here in Rapid City. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
It was after his third open heart surgery. Brady started crying and grabbing at his chest. We agreed to call 911 right away. And by the time we got him out to our vehicle, he was completely limp.
He was slumped in Mom's arms, got some oxygen on him right away, and he started to come around.
We were pretty scared that we might have to relocate. Buffalo Regional really wanted us to stay here and not have to move to a bigger city.
They've proven to us that they'll be here for Brady.
You know, it's really busy in the coffee house, not just in the morning, but all day long. And it's really important that we serve our customers hot coffee that's ready for them when they're ready for it.
We get that, Michelle. And our team at Black Hills Energy will make sure you have the electricity you need to keep that Java nice and hot. Speaking of hot Java, how about a cup for the road? Black Hills Energy. Life sponsored by Energy.
You can't predict life's ups and downs. You just give it all you've got to stay on top. But it's easier with a partner like Security First Bank. Since 1898, we've been riding with you through the country's biggest ups and downs. And this is where we'll stay. Security First Bank, a relationship you can count on. Member FDIC.
Native Sun News has been voted the best weekly newspaper in its class for 2015 by the South Dakota and North Dakota Newspaper Associations. You can find a copy of the Native Sun News at many businesses and vending machines in Rapid City and the surrounding area, and on all 9 reservations. We publish every Wednesday, so advertisers and subscribers can reach our diverse readership by calling 605-721-1266. The Native Sun News covers the other side of the story.
Hi, welcome back to Oyate Today. Once again, our guests tonight are Karl Jegeris, Police Chief of the Rapid City Police Department, and Officer Dan Mertz. Thank you both for being here tonight. I really appreciate your time and taking the time to visit with us. So,
You bet.
Before the break, we were talking about the quality of life unit and your role, Officer Mertz. Could you talk to me or talk to our audience a little bit about your day-to-day operations, what it is that you're kind of tasked to do on a day-to-day basis, I guess?
Sure. So myself and my partner Jim Hansen are the only 2 sworn officers assigned to this unit at this time. And we usually start our day at about 8 o'clock, and every day is a little bit different. But we usually try to take care of any meetings that we have with local area partners, service providers that we have in town, and make sure we're maintaining those positive working relationships. And then we usually do a lot of what I call contact work. And we're just going out in the community and we're making contact with people. This is not based upon a call for service, not based upon a complaint. This is just us going out in the community, meeting people wherever they're at, and just saying hi and having a conversation. We're pretty fortunate to have worked with this population considerably over our time on the police department. And so what's nice is that we know these people on a first name basis. And so that relationship is personal. So we may sit down next to somebody and have a conversation about what they did over the weekend or how their family's doing, how they're doing with a recent illness or a recent upset in their life. And then we can maybe even dive into a deeper conversation about hooking them up with a resource. And when we talk about things like that, I think what's really neat about our unit is we don't just refer people to resources. To us, that's just information sharing. We really walk alongside that individual and say, hey, I understand you may be having some health issues. I know somebody and I have a personal relationship with somebody at maybe one of our local clinics. Would you like to go down with me right now and we can go talk to them? So we transport people all over the place, and that's really such a unique relationship, especially in police work. We're walking that person through that next step. We're not just giving them information and saying, hey, good luck, let me know how it goes. We're walking them through that process, to that warm handoff to that person that I know personally, that they're going to be taken care of, and they know that. And through that relationship building, there becomes trust. So if they develop trust with me, they're going to trust whoever I hand them off to. So it's really neat what we're doing out on the street and at the street level.
Having that personal relationship with the population downtown there, is there any information that comes from them, say something that may be going on in a certain area or a certain neighborhood or a certain alley or behind a certain building? I mean, is there other tips that come in as far as just building those relationships?
Yeah, absolutely. You gain so much information through those relationships, and those come out in casual conversations typically. But the majority of the time, these people are on the street 20, 23 hours a day. So they know, they're listening what's going on, they're seeing what's going on. And yeah, we've developed some great tips on cases that we've worked before, that we pass along that information to. Obviously we keep that part confidential with their names and things like that. But yeah, they've been a tremendous help for us. And even brainstorming, resolving issues that we've had. We've had minor issues downtown, and we try to work with them and say, hey, what do you think might be a possible solution here? So then they feel invested in that process as well, which is important.
And I know that you've only been out on the streets for a month, 2 months with this particular program, but do you have any kind of specific success story to share with us as far as helping an individual who may be in a crisis situation and it just resolved in a positive way?
For sure, yeah. I think one of our most recent ones, I encountered an entire family, 4 adults, I think there was 3 or 4 kids, just got evicted from their home, and they have all of their belongings and a few shopping carts behind one of our local stores. And just doing my contact time during the morning, I saw this, and I approached, we had a conversation, really got into where they're at in their lives and where things have been and where they see that it's going. The great news about this story was over the course of the next couple of weeks, we immediately got them into some available housing. There's 2 males that we brought up to the Department of Labor, and they're now fully employed.
Wow, okay.
We got them emergency food through Feeding South Dakota, so the kids had food in their bellies, and they're able to then transition out of that crisis state, and they can begin to move on to bigger and better things. As far as I know right now, they're doing great.
That's good.
They're all still employed, and they're making a great living. And the kids are doing great, and that's what's most important is the kids.
Children, definitely.
We want to make sure that our kids are taken care of. They're our most important asset in our community, and we recognize that. So they're doing great so far. We have some single individuals that we're working with currently, some very motivated individuals, struggling a little bit with sobriety, but that's okay. We understand that there's going to be 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Definitely.
We're not going to leave their side. We're going to be with them the entire time, through the good times and the bad. So
I appreciate you doing that, sir. I really do. So thank you for that. Chief, could you talk to us a little bit about I guess, in Officer Mertz's job, it's about relatability with the downtown community, the Native American community on some level. Could you talk to us a little bit about the cultural awareness trainings that's provided in the Rapid City Police Department and how effective that is, say, for Officer Mertz and what he's doing?
Sure. So throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to attend numerous cultural awareness type of trainings, and really the problem with it historically is that we have not had any of our training validated by the community. So especially when it comes to Native American type cultural awareness training. So over the past year or 2, we brought that concern to the Community Advisory Committee, which has some insight into the community, and we basically identified a training source that we thought would be very effective for our staff. And it's Dr. Craig Howe from the Center for American Indian and Native Studies, Native American Research and Native Studies. And so basically, over the course of the past year, he has provided a training block to our entire department that really has just gone over the history of our area from the Lakota perspective. Because let's be honest here, most of our staff are not Lakota. Many of our staff aren't from the area. And so it was helpful for them to hear the perspective, and it was brought without judgment, without any finger pointing or anything like that. And so I think just by having greater awareness, that education is critical to the rest of the training that we do. If we have a better understanding of the diversity of our city, we're going to be able to perform better, and that relates to ability to have greater compassion, which in this case, when we're dealing with the most vulnerable in our community, it requires a great degree of compassion, because it's not easy work. It's not always friendly. We are meeting with people that are at their worst at times, and we're usually there for conflict purposes. It's not at a time when things are going well, it's when things are going poorly. So
Definitely. Dr. Howe is a great asset to our community. He does the Lakota Lands and Identities tour, the bus tour of the Black Hills, Southern Black Hills, and into the historical and other sites of our area that are significant to Lakota and the surrounding tribes. So I'm really glad that he's been involved with the Rapid City Police Department and the sensitivity training. So we're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, we're going to learn a little bit more about what you guys are doing out on the street. I'm very proud of you, sir, for giving us that positive message. So we'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
I want some more.
What's he doing?
But he can't.
Look at him. It's just not done.
Please, sir, I want some more.
More? More?
More? Please, sir.
He has asked for more!
Thank you.
What?
Well, he did say please. Sir?
Yes, he did. And thank you.
Yeah, and thank you.
He's a wonderful boy. A delightful boy.
Please. And thank you. Pass it on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you're talking, they will hear you.
Why are we getting killed like this?
Kyle's not here. Got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah, 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Harsh.
Hey, he knew not to drink. We've made that clear to all of our kids, right?
No, not really.
Bill, if we don't tell them what we expect and why they shouldn't drink, how are they gonna know?
Talk. They hear you.
You can do it if you try.
Every day. 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 Every day.
Hi, welcome back to Oyate Today. Once again, we're talking with the Rapid City Police Department and the Quality of Life Unit that's happening out on the streets of Rapid City in the past couple of months. So once again, Chief, Officer, thank you very much for being here again. Part of what you're doing is building those relationships and those bonds with our homeless population and the importance of that. But you also mentioned in our pre-interview conversation that there's an educational component to this. And could you talk to us a little bit about how important education is in what you're doing, please?
Yeah, over the last couple of months, we've certainly identified that an educational component is vital to what we're doing, not only for our officers, but for the community as well. There's power in education, and we want to begin to maybe encourage people to look at things a little bit differently, just to change their perspectives just a little bit. For the officer on the street and dealing with an individual, to the community member driving by in their car and seeing different things. So our goal is this fall is to launch a training program first with our department, and then look at branching out and reaching community members as well. And that training component hits very heavy on history. Talking about difficult historical facts that have happened dating all the way back to the 1400s. Things that were going on globally at the time, things that were going on nationally in the state of South Dakota and also locally. We feel that that's very, very important history. And we want people to have a historical perspective. Whenever they're making a decision for the officer dealing with somebody, we want that historical perspective to be there. There's a power in education.
Sure.
So we want to communicate to the public and empower them and empower our department as well.
And so what we're doing, Chief, is we're finding alternatives to just arresting individuals or a group of individuals. And so a part of what you're doing in finding these alternatives and what the county and the city's doing is with the CARE campus now. And what role and how important is the CARE campus, which is the old NEU building in that area over there, how important is that going to play with, say, the quality of life unit and what they hope to accomplish?
So basically, I call it the stars are aligning. And basically what we're doing is each of these components of change that are occurring within the system are complementing each other. So as everybody knows, the Pennington County Sheriff's Office, Rapid City Police Department, we partner very well together, and Sheriff Tome has agreed to allow us to have a space within the CARE campus so that our quality of life unit can be a detached unit, so that we don't get caught up in the day-to-day business of daily police work, and that we can maintain a proactive approach. So it is going to be housed there. The facility is scheduled to open this September, and so it'll be helpful that also that the officers attached to the unit will get to know the staff at Detox, at the Crisis Care Center, and Pennington County Health and Human Services, so that we really gel together well. And so again, you know, we just talked about a little bit of the history and how that relates, and I just want to say that, you know, another thing that we're learning more about is the historic trauma that occurs. And, you know, in learning about that, the term that's used is that there's microaggressions that are oftentimes just subtly being held back, but then a minor conflict or something is a triggering effect. And that's what we deal with every day on the streets. Our officers are dealing with somewhat minor issues on a day-to-day basis, but it's conflict oriented, and sometimes it can trigger some of the microaggression, and it elevates the conflict in our community. So I think that by all of what we've talked about today, we're really going to reduce that conflict that continues. And I think we've turned a corner here in Rapid City, and I think the future for the next generations in terms of relationships is very bright.
You made a good point. I appreciate the fact that you brought up minimizing those triggers and that causing unnecessary conflict. So I appreciate you bringing that up, sir. I appreciate your work too and what you're doing in our community. I want to thank our producers, our sponsors. I want to thank Prairie Edge for hosting our show tonight, and I want to thank you for making Oyate Today a part of your night. You've been watching Oyate Today, brought to you by Regional Health.